Well, good day. I'm Dwayne Matz. Welcome to today's Living Word. Our text today from 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7, which reads, "But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to each one for the profit of all." So we're continuing today on this matter of spiritual gifts as spoken of in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. These gifts were given to the church at Corinth to exhibit, manifest the presence of the Holy Spirit in their midst. They were proof positive that the God of the 12 apostles was the same God active in the life of this church. And one of the gifts mentioned here is that of speaking in different tongues. Recall, if you will, how the Holy Spirit showed up on that first day of Pentecost. The unlearned apostles hit the streets of Jerusalem speaking the wonderful works of God in all sorts of foreign languages, a supernatural occurrence to say the least. But that's not the only time we see this supernatural gift show up. Look what happened when Peter preached the gospel to the Gentiles in the house of Cornelius. We pick it up in Acts 10, beginning at verse 44. While Peter was still speaking these words, the Holy Spirit fell upon all those who heard the word. And those of the circumcision who believed were astonished, as many as came with Peter, because the gift of the Holy Spirit had been poured out on the Gentiles also. For they heard them speak with tongues and magnify God. This was indisputable evidence that salvation is for Gentiles too. The evidence was identical to what took place on that first Pentecost. The people in the house of Cornelius spoke with tongues and magnified God. But let's be careful here. Speaking in tongues is not the only exhibition of the presence of the Holy Spirit in a church. If you take time to count the other gifts in this chapter of 1 Corinthians, you will find 8 other evidences as well. And as Paul reminds us rhetorically later on in this chapter in verse 30, do all have the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? And of course, the answer is no. He says, but earnestly desire the best gifts, and yet I show you a more excellent way. We'll have more on this topic next time. I'm Dwayne Matz, and that's today's Living Word.